I'm at 607 North Tanglewood Drive in Springfield, Ohio, doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We're looking for any structural issues, root intrusion, anything that would be concerning to the buyer. Our access location is a rear main stack. It's in the back center of the basement, right next to the washer. And there's also a clean out in the front left corner of the basement floor. That one is I was able to get it open, but we're trying to go from back here to be able to inspect as much line as possible. And so we're going to be going in through this Y here, as I mentioned. So it looks like this is cast iron, and cast iron is not a bad material, but it does tend to rust, obviously. This thing's probably flipping over on itself a little bit. Try to get this to, it tends to do this sometimes when you're trying to go into cast iron. There we go. It just kind of catches on the rust, but at any rate, the cast iron, again, it's not a bad material, but it does rust and will eventually rust out. We really have no way of knowing how thin or thick the pipe walls are with these inspections unless there's actual holes. And so, but one thing I always like to mention with this is that you do have situations where they, it's a lot more prevalent to have like soft clogs with cast iron lines because of how rough the interior of the pipe is. Just with all the rust, and I want to be able to see here, there's really nothing down here to turn the water on, and so either way we'll be able to see when we come back. Just maybe either run some water upstairs. I thought maybe there'd be a stationary tub or something down here, but I don't see anything. All we have, there probably used to be one, but now all it is the washer and the dryer. So there we go. It's just some toilet paper. And so when I mention things, you can see how this is sitting here. When I mention the stuff about soft clogs, basically what you want to make sure you're avoiding is like wet wipes, which this actually looks like that's what this is. Because you don't want to use wet wipes, especially in cast iron, but in general, even if they say flushable, because you can see how this is sitting here. I'm just sitting in the middle now. It could get flushed down with enough water, but they don't break down. So with toilet paper, you will have them, they will, toilet paper will disintegrate. And so if it does get caught somewhere in these lines like this, it would disintegrate into nothing in the water, and everything would be, it would continue on. But with these wet wipes, this is the problem you have, is just it tends to sit and then it backs up because it never breaks down, and it clogs the whole line. But you can see at the end here, we've gone from this cast iron right here into clay, which is a normal material change, but looks like we do have some root intrusion, which is another very normal thing for clay lines. I think we're going to have to probably run some water through here to make sure that my camera can stay clear. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. We're going to run some water in the kitchen sink, so that way we can get some water flowing through here, and hopefully it doesn't rise up enough to overtake the camera lens, but it's good enough to where we can rinse the camera lens off. All right. So, should have the water show up here soon. It's running all the way down through here. But the line the way it is, it may take a second. But we'll say anything before 45 feet. And you'll see stuff like this where you have like some, that just looks like some packing that came through or some mineral deposits there. It's been there for the life of the pipe, I'm sure. So we'll continue to leave that line on. I'm not sure exactly where this line runs compared to where any of the trees or anything are out there, but we're hoping that maybe that little bit of there's some grease buildup here. See, I'm kind of pushing it out in front of me now. I'm breaking it up. I don't know how long the house has been vacant, but these look like pretty big chunks of like grease and stuff. A little bit more roots there. So far, the line looks good structurally. We just have some common issues with this material, which is, like I said, the root intrusion. It's just so common because you can see about every 3 feet there's another connection. They're really short sections of pipe, and so these connections, they are packed with different material depending on the age, but some of them, and the older ones, have kind of like a tar packed in there. And over the years it can shrink, and then when it shrinks and starts allowing, the tree roots in, you just want to make sure that they haven't caused any structural issues or anything. And so that's where I say a lot of the times we have to push all the way out, and because we're pushing all this stuff in front of the camera, sometimes it's a lot easier to see when we're pulling back. We can get all the way out, and then hopefully it rinse the camera off. And as we're pulling back, we're not pulling any debris, but like this, if I can push through here, hopefully this will allow some of this to drain. See the buildup there where this is probably going to have to be cleaned out, but I think I'm pushing through this stuff enough to hopefully start getting it to flow down the line. For a house this age, this doesn't look that bad. It looks kind of normal for an old line with some trees and stuff out there. Okay. There's some more buildup. Looks like some grease and stuff too. Looks like we have a little belly, a sunken section of pipe here. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get past this. Yeah, this may be something that I won't be able to get past because of all the stuff I'm scraping up. close, but I just can't get it through there because I'm building up all that debris. So I'm going to have to, but there is definitely an offset. It's causing it to hold water and everything. It's not horrible. It's probably been overtaking it, but we'll have to be looked at. I'm going to pause the video here and we'll get a locate to find out how far out we are, how close we are to the main. And this is probably going to be about as far as I can get. Alright, so we are within 5 feet of the main. And so at this point I did mark it with a UTP on the line, or on the mark. It shows you how close I got to the main. It is in the street. That UTP just means unable to proceed. And so we know how far we got, but mainly this is just because you can see that little low spot. And so we would be, I mean, we are almost at the main. And the good news is this is off the property. Oh, I think I thought I made it place there for a second. And I did not. And so you could have this looked at by the local, whoever manages the sewer department. This is out in the street. It is off the property. It's 2'11" to the invert. And so we're at about 122 feet there, let's say. So So I just was kind of sitting there for a minute trying to look at where we were footage-wise, and yeah, I'm just not going to be able to get past it because I'm out 120 feet, so I just can't get enough behind it for it to jump that spot. But again, you could have this, basically, it's not the homeowner's responsibility, but it would require an issue before they will probably do anything about this. You can have it and see if they'll take a look at it and inspect it. Mainly I'm seeing a bunch of this kind of stuff, which is like some grease on some old roots, nothing major. Most of the stuff that we saw on the way out is just some like that, spots where you're having a little bit of like mineral deposits, or spots where the packing may be coming into the pipe at the connections or something, just a hair. It's not a defect, it's been here since the line was built. But that's mainly what we're looking for, any major structural issues. And really the only thing I saw was some pretty minor root intrusion. So this is clay lime, so we would hope, kind of hate in these situations where now we're underwater, I'm going to have to go turn the water off. It is escaping pretty well, but the problem is, as we pull back, we're going to have to turn the water off and hope that it'll drain down just enough to where we can see a little bit. So I'm going to pause the video again and let it drain down. Okay, well, we let the water sit for a while, and on the way out you could see most of this, and it looks like it probably does need a little bit of a cleaning. You can see the top of the water, you can see the top of the pipe, which is what we're looking for. But this was all, I could see it when we were going out, and this is where, there we go. Just kind of some of that stuff causing the water to build up, and kind of a shame that, there we go. the belly. It's always kind of hard to tell because whether or not, because a lot of this is holding water because of like a small spot. So it is kind of frustrating because it's a very small amount of water. You can see here. As we push out, it obviously is worse than if we're pulling in. It's kind of more that between 102 and it's just slightly above there. And this is just because the line is flat. It's about 95 to 102. There's a very small belly. And bellies don't usually cause much of an issue. As long as there's not, you know, a break in those areas or anything like that, they just, you can see it's just from settling over the years. Where a lot of those have been there since the line was installed. When they backfill over it, they sink a little bit, but it's not causing any obstruction to flow or anything like that. It's not even it's maybe a quarter, maybe an inch. So that camera lens is only about 3/4 of an inch off the bottom of the pipe to the center of that lens, and so it's not a whole lot of water. A little bit of roots here, about 76 feet there, 77 feet we'll say. Some of the wet wipes. Again, those are definitely want to be avoided. Very, very small amount. It's more that you would have to maybe take a look at this in the future. It would be maybe a good idea to use some like Rudex or something like that. It's just a chemical that you can dump down your line. I think it calls for it about yearly. That way it kind of burns back the roots, keeps them from growing real thick. You can see a lot of that's like calcite with a little bit of like grease buildup on it, and that tends to happen. I mean, just the small amount of grease that you get down kitchen lines and stuff like that from building the dishes. See, it's not real heavy, but it will congeal together also. Some more of those, some more, that's a wet wipe definitely. And then there's still some of that packing like I talked about, kind of the mineral deposit or whatever right there. This is probably the worst bit of roots right in through here, and I think it's getting in right at the connection between the cast iron. So it's from about, and you can see it's all really getting in right around here. So like 30, see that's a chunk of grease. See how it kind of looks like a brick? That is a chunk of grease where it all congeals together in one spot. So That's something. It's not a major issue, but you can see how it all starts. All the roots start here about 36 feet, and they go out to about 44 feet. I don't know how long the house has been vacant. But just kind of trying to get a look at how it, you can see I can kind of pop it out. It's really light. You just kind of pop it loose. But you may want to get a cleaning down through here. There's 36 and then have this line re-inspected. 36 to 44 feet, maybe 45 feet. You may want to have this, because it's not really heavy, but because it's not obstructing flow, but because you can see how heavy it is in spots, and we cannot see the actual line itself. This may have some structural issues in that area. I mean, just the way it looks, the way it's coming in. It could just be some, those very small roots and just climbing on the ceiling of the pipe wall, but really can't see. So I'm going to recommend that the line be cleaned and re-inspected, at least in between that 36 and 44 foot mark. And then here we are in the cast iron again. Let's see if we can get a good look at all this. Cast iron it looks rough, but it looks like it's all in pretty good shape as far as the age. We just came back through that clean out area. It's a little chunk of grease that's broke loose also. Okay, so I'm getting ready to come back out. Okay. So, we're backing out of the line now, and the line overall looked good structurally. You have a couple spots of concern at roughly, I think it was like 122 feet. Obviously, we couldn't make it past that point, but that is off the property. So, you may want to supply that to the local sewer department. They probably won't do anything unless it's causing an active issue as far as backing up or something like that. Besides that, the only thing I saw was medium root intrusion between about 36 feet and 44 feet on the video, which is basically where, just outside the house, where the cast iron turns to clay, there's some root intrusion getting in for that, 8 to 10 feet there. And because of that, I can't see. I mean, obviously, if the roots are getting in at the connections, that's not uncommon, but if there's any damage to the pipe, we can't see because of the root coverage. And so just want to have that cleaned and re-inspected to ensure that there's no structural issue in that area. So I'm going to recommend that be done. But the rest of the line, the cast iron on the inside, looks pretty good for its age. And it's functioning, and the line is open and flowing right now, but does have a few concerning spots. So, going to recommend a cleaning, a re-inspection, and possibly reporting it to the local sewer department about that belly or that dropped section of pipe that is out in the street, and that is marked with green paint, and it's 2 foot 11 deep to the invert. Side bottom of the pipe. So, but that pretty much is everything on the line. It's not too bad for a house this age. Just a couple things to look into and see if you can get taken care of. But that's going to end the inspection at 607 North Tanglewood Drive in Springfield, Ohio.